It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome into another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I am Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders. Alan, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. Day off. Got a lot of stuff going on. I'm like halfway through cutting the grass, halfway through doing laundry, halfway through cooking dinner. We're in a good place right now.
Okay, is there a reason that we're halfway on everything and not full on anything?
Well, it's not dinner time yet.
I understand
the laundry, you know, is an extended process. You know, it's a couple hours there. So I started to cut the grass, and then it was 5 o'clock.
Okay. All right. Fair enough, I guess. There are times where I'll do like cut the grass, but not do the trim that same day. So then I'll do the trim the following day. But I don't
actually I have like a big hillside in the back that I have to weed whack. So I just did that first. And then I did all the trimming. And now we'll go from there.
All right. We need your landscape thoughts in the comments to start off the show. But Alan, it's been a little bit of an extended time since I was back on the podcast. Was not here Friday. You and Nick Faribaugh, friend of the show, jumping back into the pro. We can't get rid of that guy. Like even he left us, and still every once in a while he's
like black mold. I think you have to just tear down the whole building to fully get rid of it.
Which I don't know that we want to do. So I think we're just gonna have to put up with him from time to time on here. But I just got to say, I put out a video on my channel talking about this, but what an experience. Like I'm so thankful for the people, especially you getting me credentialed to take part in that Friday Night Lights practice. What a setting. I mean, I was out there last year for a couple practices at the normal location, but this is just a different beast. It's a different animal that you had me prepared for it in a way for what it was going to be like, how cool of an atmosphere that is. But like the fan base brings it. There's so much juice out of the gate, and then like they do their best to match the intensity on the field from a practice perspective. Obviously, like I'll be honest, I think I would take going to that over. I would take going to that over a preseason game 100%.
100%.
Like
100%. Easily.
Divisional regular season game, that preseason game. There's your tier ranking right there. So awesome environment. The fan base would be my first takeaway from it. We can dive more into just like what I saw in general, my takeaways. But first and foremost, just wanted to say that like that was such a cool experience, regardless of if I'm going credentialed or just as a fan going forward. I want to be out there every single year for that.
It's a lot of fun. It's really cool atmosphere. I don't know that you can fit more people into that stadium. Somehow they do every year. It was packed. There's people all the way around the field on both sides, in the end zones, on the track.
The people that live like right around it are like just tailgating outside their houses and stuff.
And you missed one of the coolest parts actually is when we ride over on the buses, there's people lined up all the way. It's like a parade. Like there's people lined up all the way down the bus route into the stadium, cheering and honking their horns. And like you said, tailgating. Very, very cool. I thought very unique, one of one in the NFL environment for sure.
Yeah, like you can understand, like people would get hung up on the Steelers being too old school at times and wanting to keep traditions. You go to something like this and you understand why they want to continue to do things the way that they do for training camp.
I think that's true with most of the things with the Steelers, one way or the other. Is I think a lot of the things that people get frustrated about by the Steelers either don't get to experience it close enough, or they don't get to experience it far away, the other way. Like people get frustrated by the Rooney's patience. Go see what it's like to be a Cleveland Browns fan right now. Like go see what it's like to be a Carolina Panthers fan when they fire another coaching staff this year. Like go see how the other side of that coin lives for a little bit, and then you see, oh, this is actually okay. And sometimes I honestly think Mike Tomlin would be so much more popular with the fan base if he let more people see what he's really like. Did you see the clip of Mike McDaniel this morning?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
The clip of Mike McDaniel, who corrects the reporter for saying, no, it's a great morning. And then the reporter says, why is it a great morning? Because we're one day closer to death. And I'm like, okay, is Mike Tomlin like occasionally corny, repetitive? Like, yeah, it's so much better. Like, that's like, why would you want to play? I saw that clip and I was like, well, that's why every player wants out of Miami right now. Like, look at the guy. Would you want to play for that guy when you could play for Mike Tomlin? Like, come on. Is that guy a better X's and O's coach than Mike Tomlin? 100% yes. There is zero question in my mind that Mike McDaniel is a better X's and O's coach than Mike Tomlin, and he is a significantly worse head coach, and he always will be. Like, because he doesn't get it.
I actually think that he's one of the coaches that I'd be like, if he were to be let go by Miami, Arthur Smith gets a head coaching job somewhere else. Mike McDaniel might be on the short list for who I want to be the offensive coordinator of this team. But yeah, I have no interest in him being the head coach of my team. If things go south in Miami this year, he's probably got to be up. I haven't looked at betting odds.
If you saw their offseason, right?
Okay. If you're right. You're right. I
mean, they're only saving grace that they got 4 games against the Pats and the Jets.
Yeah. His time very well could be up in 2025. Anyways, not here to talk about the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel any more than we already have.
Relating it to the Steelers.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's stay there because I think my top takeaway, this defensive back group I think is awesome. I think that they're right now they were the group that I was looking forward to seeing the most, mainly because of the energy perspective. And there's a lot of guys there that like this is their first time experiencing a Friday Night Lights. So I wanted to see what they would be like in this setting, both from just like an energy perspective and then how good they were going to be, obviously. And I think Darius Slay, who we had just talked about last week in terms of just like kind of flying under the radar just because of like Jalen Ramsey was the shiniest new toy that they had gotten. Darius Slay had 2 pass breakups and 7 shots following the previous practice. He also had 2 pass breakups and 7 shots. I just think that he continues to look really good. Jalen Ramsey's running routes for receivers, but like even the guys further down, like Brandon Echols, you've been talking about him having a really strong camp, and he was really good again on that day. I thought Beanie Bishop even had a really nice day in the team periods as well. So the defensive backs stood out to me in a big way. And certainly Dante Kent was a guy that we talked about maybe pushing him a little bit. Now he's in a boot, so things not looking great there. And then Corey Trice suffered an injury during Friday Night Lights. James Pierre, who had a bit of an up and down day, got burnt by Scotty Miller a little bit earlier, then bounces back like 2 plays later with an interception to end the entire practice. So yeah, the defensive backs to me stood out in a big way. I don't necessarily feel any different about Broderick Jones, which is very concerning at this stage, I would say. I'm just waiting for him to, now I know since, I believe it was yesterday, Nick had said he had a pretty strong practice. I believe that you said he probably had his best practice so far. So that's encouraging. I know he wasn't 100%, but I just feel like, man, like the clock is ticking for him to answer these questions about how we feel. But what I will say is I thought Dylan Cook looked very good in that practice, like was certainly holding his own against the likes of Nick Herbig. So I came away feeling like, maybe there's more of a depth option there than we had thought if we are going to see Calvin Anderson go down and Dylan Cook maybe see more reps there. Which we can talk about the Calvin Anderson injury in a little bit more. Love the approach of the rookies, like not only in the drills, but off the drill. Saw Jack Sawyer, like right after his team reps, which he had batted 2 passes down, immediately come off the field and start talking to TJ Watt. I very briefly was able to ask him a question. Like if you were even telling me this, like how much of a madhouse it's going to be. I got him like right as he was running off and stuff and just like was asking him very briefly about that. And I was hoping he would give me a little bit more detailed answer because I wanted to know just about, and you gave me this idea about like his pass rush plan. Not trying to like discredit him or anything, but like at Ohio State, he could just win in a different way on Saturday than I think he's going to be able to win on Sunday. And I asked him about that. And he was just basically like, well, I have the best guys to learn from here. And I know it's going to be an everyday process, like a very generic answer, which is fine. But just the approach of like wanting to be that sponge and learn from those guys that can appreciate watching Caleb Johnson go through the trials and tribulations of backs on backers. I mean, we had talked about the struggles that he had. Those struggles continued early on. But then he goes up against Mark Robinson, and they just beat the crap out of each other, and then literally beat the crap out of each other in a scrap. And then they come back and do it again in a drill. Like, I just loved watching that battle, multiple reps in a row, and just like watching Eddie Faulkner get in Caleb Johnson's face, like pleading for him to give him more and then give him more. I thought was an awesome way for him to respond. And Will Howard, to me, just looks like a guy that's been in the league for 5 years. like this isn't even necessarily like a skill set perspective, right? Just talk about like his approach to everything. He just looks like a seasoned vet to me and a guy that's been there and done that for so long, which is why I think he's going to be, a very good backup for a long time. And that is going with like the one-on-one stuff that we've talked about. The last thing that I'll say here that stood out to me in a big way is they just need to rename the drill after Darnell Washington. Like it's unfair watching him go against anybody in those. Unbelievable. I know Darnell's going to come up later, but like if you asked me for just like a very short list of takeaways, it's about the defensive backs, it's about the rookies, and it's about what Darnell Washington does to other guys in one-on-ones.
Will Howard better look like he's a 5-year vet because he's going to be 25 next month. So maybe not like all the way far off there.
Yeah.
I have been impressed by his, I don't know what word I'm looking for here because it's not off the field, but his command of the huddle, his command of the offense, the way he goes about his business. He does not carry himself like a rookie. And I think at that position especially, that matters a lot. He gives the veneer of competence, right? And like on one hand, if you go out there and then you screw it up, like if you remember Mason Rudolph 2019, I would say very similar, like had the veneer of competence and then, didn't play very well. That's not going to matter, but you're never even going to get the opportunity to go out there if you don't have that. If you don't look like people think like he might be able to do it. You know what I mean? And I think that is actually important for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to make sure that I said it's not necessarily about like what he's doing from like the skills that he possesses or anything like that. I just have enjoyed watching the way that he like carries himself, and not just in that one day that I've been there, just like all the coverage of him that I've seen, all the reports, and you kind of confirming that to me right now. It's in terms of the way that he's carried himself. Because there's times where he'll like sail a pass like 15 to 20 yards from anybody. Like there's nobody in the direction. He used to do that at Ohio State every once in a while too, where he just
stared down a couple guys yesterday too.
Yeah.
That was dangerous.
Yeah. But then like you see, I will say, and I feel like again, you're better to speak to this than me, having only been there for one practice and seeing it. But like in 7 shots, especially, I feel like that's kind of been like the drill where he's looked at his best and in most command.
I think he looks good in general. Like he looks better than a 6th round pick ought to. I do think like there's something there that the Steelers have to work with. I think he's going to get a lot of reps in the preseason too. So like that should be pretty exciting. I don't know that it's all going to be like sunshine and rainbows. Like he made a couple throws yesterday that if he makes against, threw an interception, threw another one that probably should have been intercepted. We'll see how things go, but I think there's stuff there to work with that could be good.
Yeah. It's getting to the point where I feel like I'm saying this every single year. So like maybe I should just stop saying it. But for somebody that doesn't always enjoy the preseason, I feel like because of, Will Howard and Caleb John, like are things to watch this preseason that should make it more fun than most years to watch for Steelers fans and worthwhile to watch. Like we know Will Howard's going to see a ton of reps throughout the preseason. So if you are somebody that is, we see it in the comments all the time, feel like he has a shot to be this franchise's starting quarterback, you should be chomping at the bit to see him in the preseason. The unfortunate
I feel like that's the case every preseason until week 1 of the preseason. And then you're like, all right, never mind. I've seen enough of this. You're going to be real football.
Until the game starts. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like end of the first quarter of week 1, you're like, all right, I'm already sick of this preseason stuff. Let's go.
Yeah,
we'll see if it's able to hold our interest a little bit longer this year. Even 3 weeks of preseason, which is significantly down from what it used to be, still feels like too much when you're in it.
I feel like, I think everybody that watches or listens to this by now knows that I'm a wrestling fan. So like I try to work it in sometimes, but not often enough. And, not everybody's going to know who Karrion Kross is, but he's a current performer in WWE. But I saw one of the funniest tweets. It's so true, like at least in my feelings towards him yesterday. Somebody was like, I love everything about Karrion Kross. And then the bell rings. That's like what you're saying about the preseason. Like love the idea of the preseason. And then the game starts.
And then you're like, all right, I forgot why I hate this.
Yep. The unfortunate reality of all this, Alan, is that there are going to be injuries that take place. It seemed like that the first week or so seemed to be skating by okay, but I'm not going to say they're getting hit with a bunch right now. But we're seeing the soft tissue stuff start to pop up as we always do, and there was some curiosity in terms of what was going on with Joey Porter Jr. when he was in sweats during Friday Night Lights. Alex Highsmith with a groin that was put out yesterday. We talked about Calvin Anderson dealing with an injury. Corey Trice hurt his hamstring in that Friday Night Lights practice. I don't know, just any light to be shed on these injuries at all in terms of not necessarily like a timeline or anything like that, but I want to work this into an updated 53-man roster projection that you put out. And I was just going to ask, like, did any of these factor into your thoughts at all there? Like, do you think any of them are longer term?
Calvin Anderson and Corey Trice are the two that I'm somewhat concerned with. I think they're the only two that as I'm sitting here right now, I feel like they could cause them to miss regular season time. Do
we know what's up with Joey?
I think he he said hand. I think he just jammed a finger or something like that. Like he's fine.
Speaking of, nothing going on with Keanu Benton, because like that was a conversation during Friday.
Yeah, he said he was fine, and then Tomlin said he was day to day, and then he practiced the next day. So I don't know. He seems fine.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, we talked about a couple corners in there, and Joey Porter Jr. and Corey Trice. Darrell Porter Jr. brought in, who was recently with the Buffalo Bills. But I saw your tweet about this. Pretty wild that his dad was a Steelers draft pick. 2 years later, the team selected Joey Porter Sr., and then Joey Porter Jr. was picked in 2023, and now 2 years later, Darrell Porter Jr. signed by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, is he going to stick around? TBD, but pretty wild that we got the NFL bloodlines here, and we'll see if this town is big enough for the both of them.
Multiple Porters Jr.
Yeah. Yep.
Pretty crazy. Like, very crazy, honestly. Darrell Porter Jr. was at WVU for a little bit, transferred to Miami, tested very poorly coming out this year. 2.1 RAS or something like that, like just off the bottom of the scales almost.
Jeez.
I didn't think he had a great senior year in Miami, but I don't think he was that bad either. Signed with Buffalo, got cut before training camp, which is also kind of a red flag. So we'll see where things go. But obviously, Dante Kent in a walking boot, Joey Porter banged up, Corey Trice out for a little bit with a hamstring. They're thin at corner, so bring him in. I don't know what the other move is going to be yet, but that's a body. We'll see how it goes. Very, very cool, just random story.
Sure, absolutely. As I say, we started off talking about the defensive backs, and that's certainly a tough room for anybody to crack, let alone somebody jumping on the ship on the 4th of August during training camp.
I mean, Let's go to the 53-man next, because that DB room is tough.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we can kind of go there, not giving away everything. Definitely want people to go and take a look at the article to find out exactly what you went with in terms of your 53 guys. But I was going to ask what you felt like was maybe the one or two toughest position groups to crack, or if it wasn't necessarily a position group, but it's just like a group of guys on the bubble.
Yeah, the position that I feel like is the toughest to figure out right now are probably wide receiver and defensive back. I feel like I have almost everything
very different reasons.
Yeah, the exact opposite reasons. I feel like I have everything else figured out. And those are, I believe, the only places. Oh, offensive line, I did make a change because I did talk about the Calvin Anderson injury. And Dylan Cook has played really well, given how I didn't have Dylan Cook on my first 53. I put him on this time. So that was one change. But then the other change, the other places is wide receiver and corner. Start with wide receiver. Scotty Miller's going to make this team if he keeps playing like he did this week. He was really good. He's the only wide receiver other than DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin doing anything. And Austin's hurt right now. So there's that. Still think they're going to bring someone in from the outside of that position. But I think Scotty Miller's done enough. And he is, I think, crucially, a good enough special teamer to warrant that being kept on the roster, as opposed to just being a backup on the practice squad, which he could do. He did at the end of last season. two, and then the other place is DB is tough, man. Like I've got Beanie Bishop, Brandon Eccles, James Pierre, Corey Trice, Dante Kent, and two of those guys got to get cut. And that is very difficult.
Yeah.
They're pretty much all playing well. Like, I mean, it's like Brandon Eccles has been great throughout camp. Beanie Bishop had a great week this week with Porter out. He played a lot more slot with the first team. Ramsey moved outside, and he was great. James Pierre moved up to the second team. Phenomenal. 3 interceptions this week. I mean, Corey Trice, before he got hurt, he was going toe-to-toe with Eccles. Like, they were in a fantastic battle. Dante Kent, I think it feels like the easiest cut of those, especially now with the injury. Maybe they even slide him to the IR. I don't know. But, like, I got Corey Trice off to 53 right now, and I don't feel good about that, but you got to make a cut somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough, you know, and with James Pierre, I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to complain about it, but listen, like, until somebody's going to take that gunner job from him, he's going to make this roster. Like, somebody's going to snatch that thing away from him, and they've had such trouble finding it to the point where they brought him back. He was out of Pittsburgh, and they needed somebody that was a good gunner, and look who they went to. So they certainly value what he brings to the table in that regard. But I also think that you can do worse in terms of an option on the boundary. You talked about the week that he had, and, you know, there's ups and downs, sure. But when you're talking about, you know, the number 4 guy on the outside, you're going to have those ups and downs. So, yeah, I mean, because of the upside of Trice, if he's healthy, I'd probably rather them go that direction. But, like, predictively, I think that I would agree with you.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, and obviously Trice has to get healthy, and he has to stay healthy. Yeah. And that's a long-term thing. It would be different if this was the first injury, but I mean, I think the other players are really good. So walking in has been one of the biggest surprises of camp for me.
You know, with the Scotty Miller and the wide receiver thing, we actually got a question that kind of involves Scotty Miller, so I can bring that up in a second. But I was going to say, you know, not necessarily discussing the nature of Calvin's injury or anything like that. You had already predicted that you still thought there was going to be an outside guy. But based off what you've seen, and maybe if you've heard anything about the way that they feel about it, watching this take place, just watching this group in training camp, do you think that the need is emphasized any more than it already was?
Yes. Not just watching this group, but watching this secondary just abuse them on a day-to-day basis. And I understand that I think this is a really good Steelers secondary, potentially one of the deepest in the league. But gosh, nobody's open. Nobody's open. And they got to find something.
Well, Dennis was kind of asking what you just brought up right there in terms of, like, trying to evaluate, because we both agree that this defense is obviously a better unit than this offense is. And, you know, sometimes in the setting, it's also, you know, more catered to that, if you will, especially early on. The defense is going to be ahead of the offense with a group that's, you know, largely back, especially like the core pieces of it. But, like, you know, how do you weigh that evaluation with that being the case? Specifically for the offense, like, how do you evaluate the offense knowing that they're going against that unit?
You know, a lot of times early on in camp, the offense wouldn't be making a lot of plays or progress, but, like, it was mostly like, hey, DB making a play on a contested catch. You know, a guy batting the pass down at the line of scrimmage. Like, there was a stretch where, like, Rodgers went like 20 consecutive passes without one hitting the ground. It was either caught or a DB broke it up. Like, that was like 20 in a row. And it's like, okay, you can kind of see that, like, the offense is being affected by the coverage. But then, like, yesterday, people just weren't on the same page. Things were looking kind of ugly. Guys were missing guys. You know, I felt like that's a little different. And then I think the other way there is that you do get reps, especially in, like, 7-on and 1-on-1s where they, like, cycle through. So, like, yeah, you'll see these guys go up against Ramsey and Slay and Porter and that, but then you'll get reps where they're going against other guys too. And like that's where like Scotty Miller is the only guy who's beating up on the third team corners. And it's like, that's a problem.
Yeah,
like,
Justin said
Roman Wilson is getting dominated by Joey Porter Jr., Darius Slay, and Jalen Ramsey, but he's beating up on the Steelers' third team corners. Then I think maybe you feel a little bit better than you do right now.
Yeah. And it's also like, you'd like to not have preconceived ideas of what's going to happen, but like we obviously do, especially when it comes to the Steelers room, especially because it's a second straight year that we felt that way. And it's just like for everything to be kind of being backed up, if you will, based off what we're seeing so far in this training camp. I think that's where a lot of the concern comes from too. I mean, Justin here said it's pretty concerning that Scotty Miller has been their third best receiver. All respect to Scotty. He's a savvy vet. He's very fast, but their wide receivers 2 through 4 are all very small, in my opinion. Brought up, doesn't think Robert Woods can play special teams. Obviously, I think that was one of the changes that you made, I believe, in your 53-man roster. Did you have Woods on the first time? I know that he wasn't on this time. But
yeah, no, I did not have him on the first time. I do have Scotty on.
Oh, okay. What Robert Woods though? Was that the change?
Yeah, that was the switch. Switched
Okay.
Scotty for Robert Woods.
But anyways, the point of Justin's thing here is: do you think it's more so about how good Scotty has been, or like bad that everybody else has been?
Mostly just about how. Yeah, I mean it's both. Like, I think everyone else not looking good makes Scotty looking good look better. For sure.
Yeah. Which, I don't think that we're breaking any news here, but certainly feel like there still needs to be some type of addition to that room. And again, we'll see about Calvin Austin's injury there and everything like that. But, Darnell Washington, who I brought up earlier in terms of what he does in the one-on-ones, I've seen a lot of people now talking about the idea of him playing tackle. That coincides obviously with the, the way that people feel about Broderick Jones right now, certainly I think plays into that as well. But you wrote an article also about this, not only 53-man roster projection, but also something about Darnell Washington and the idea of him playing tackle. What is your thought on this? I'm not saying that it came out of nowhere, but it seems like that is increasing, like the voice of it, like a very vocal minority is turning into more and more people clamoring for this idea to happen.
Well, I think people are just very worried about Broderick Jones, and this is not a good idea. Like they should not try this for many reasons. I think actually the biggest of them is that people don't understand how valuable Darnell Washington has been to the Steelers and will continue to be to the Steelers in the exact role that he has. He does not need to do anything different than he did last year to be an extremely valuable player to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in fact, I would say absolutely critical player for the Pittsburgh Steelers. When you have a struggling, bad, inexperienced, whatever adjective you want to give them, offensive line, the one thing you need very most is a tight end to block. Like that is the thing you need. And I think, we both are people who appreciate Pat Freiermuth's game. He's a better receiver than he is a blocker. I don't think anyone would argue that. Jonnu Smith is a way better receiver than a blocker.
Yeah.
Okay. No one, Connor Hayward, not an inline guy. You can block, but he's a little short to be an inline blocker. Darnell Washington is the only guy on the team who you can stick next to a tackle and say, here's your help for Myles Garrett. Here's your help for Trey Hendrickson. Like, he's the only guy. That is very important. And people say, why don't they throw the ball to him more? Because you're going to look really stupid if you put your 300-pound tight end in a route and then your quarterback gets sacked. Everyone's just going to look at it and be like, why didn't you have that guy block? He's a lot better at blocking than he is at running routes. Let him block. You need to have the help in there anyway. Why not have the guy who's almost a tackle-sized anyway, be the one to do it? Like that. That is a very valuable. We had DB on. We were talking about this a couple weeks ago about guys like Oliver and Bates who are making like $7-8 million a year, and they never get the ball. Those two guys combined didn't get the ball as much last year as Darnell Washington did. Should they use him more in the red zone? I think so. He absolutely mossed Miles Killebrew yesterday. But like that to me is the only thing that really needs to change about the way the Steelers use Darnell Washington.
Yep. 100%. And that we were saying this last year too. Like, I again, going back to maybe viewing a player differently than a lot of people. A lot of people in the comments always feel like I hate Darnell Washington. It's the exact opposite. He's probably one of my 5 favorite players on the team. I appreciate so much what he brings to the table. It's just I think differently of his skill set than I think a lot of people do. Like, I don't think they are misusing him between the 20s. You talked about, in goal line and red zone. Sure, I think there could be some more opportunities to use him as a receiver. Just think about the amount of defensive pass interferences that he's going to draw as well in those situations. So there's certainly times where I think that they should be using him differently there. But yeah, in terms of people thinking like he needs to be like some high volume pass catcher, I don't see it. I've never seen it. And as far as this idea goes, like, to me, this is like, again, worst case scenario. All of a sudden we're talking about, hopefully he can make that type of transition. And it wouldn't be about him. I'm saying worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, if things go south with like a Broderick Jones or something like that. But even then, you're talking about probably just investing in a tackle somewhere else as opposed to trying this project. So I don't know what the pathway would be to have to even see if he can do it. But it's not like I would expect, like, I don't think that he could play left tackle or right tackle in a football game tomorrow. I think that because he's a very good blocker at his position, a lot of people would think that, but it's a very different position for him to learn in terms of, the footwork and the hand placement and stuff like that. And I think it would still be a little bit of a project, even if ultimately I think maybe somewhere down the road he could do it if he started on that transition now. But yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, like, I'm not saying he can't learn to do it. I just don't know why they would want. He's more valuable to them in his current role than he would be as like an average tackle.
And how hard is that to do? Like, playing tight end right now, going through having to do this job, practice and everything like that. But then, like, also on the side, like, what would he have to be incorporating? Like, I'm just trying to think of, like, how his day-to-day practice would change. Like, how to even get him the reps.
They can sprinkle it in. Like, it's not like you have to go all or nothing. In fact, I think they probably should, because it would allow them the flexibility to maybe not have to dress a backup tackle all the time. If they feel like he could do it in an emergency, or you can kind of use, like, say, like, okay, Spencer Anderson's played little tackle. We got Darnell Washington. We can get by. Like, there doesn't need to be another guy there. You can maybe do some things with the game day roster. But, like, in terms of, there's just no, they drafted him because they want him to do what he's doing right now. That was the idea. And so I don't, he's not a good enough blocker to think that, like, oh, they have an all pro tackle here that they're just playing at tight end. Like, there's no reason to think that. There's no reason to think he'd be a better tackle than Broderick Jones is, honestly.
Yeah. But
I mean, he's not a better blocker than Broderick Jones right now. So, like, why would you? I just, the line of thinking is deeply flawed.
I actually do now want to see it.
I like fun, and so it is fun, but, like, it's dumb fun, and advocating for it is not smart.
When I say I want to see it, I'm talking about how you said sprinkling it in. Like, I'm not trying to change this guy's position or role or anything like that on this team by doing this.
Well, I tell you how you sprinkle it in is that you run tackle over, which we did see one time so far. And if you don't know what tackle over is, maybe we'll have a whiteboard tomorrow. Ooh.
Okay, I won't even follow up then if you're going to do that.
I might get the whiteboard out tomorrow. Maybe we'll talk about tackle over. There you go. I like that idea.
Wow. There you go. Look at that. Didn't even need to go to the comments for a morning rush. Love it. Alan, good stuff. As always, excited to get through another week here on the afternoon drive. Maybe we're going to see somebody new on the Steelers afternoon drive later in the week as well. Looking forward to that. We'll just tease it for the time being. But until tomorrow, tell the people they can find you.
Saunders _PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers now is the site's account. I've been doing a better job of posting on Instagram, especially from training camp. And I got a TikTok out today. I post on Blue Sky today. Now we'll see. Wow. I'm not. The
consistency's tough.
Not necessarily good at the follow through when things get real busy, but off day today, so I felt like it was pretty doable. We definitely got to get a date locked in for our August subscribers only live stream. I'll get with you and DB. We'll figure that out because that's got to be coming up here. Maybe we'll do it like, I don't know, after.
There's a week in between the preseason and regular season, right?
There is.
Yeah.
So we could do it. We could do it right before roster cuts. How about this? If you're a subscriber and you're listening, tell us when you want it. When do you want the subs only? Do you want it right after a preseason game? Do you want it before roster cuts? Do you want it right before the start of the season, the very end of August? Let us know if you're a subscriber when you want the subs only live stream this month, and we'll see if we can make that happen.
Do you want it at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm for it. I'm up anyway, usually. And of course, anyone can like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube channel, as we are at 16,276 subscribers.
We get this a lot.
I'm having a hard time coming up with one here.
Well, we get it so many times. I feel like we've used the same ones, probably. Chooks, Hokie.
Yeah.
Mike Adams.
Yeah.
Who would have been an older 76?
That's what I was trying to think.
Like, who would have been between Adams and Chooks? There had to have been.
Big Daddy Lipscomb and John Banaszak are the two old guys, but I think we've talked about both of them here too, right?
Yeah.
Kevin Henry, I haven't brought up him.
We land on.
I feel like we're out. We're out of 76s. I don't have any more. Kevin Henry, John Banaszak, Chooks, Chris Hoke, Big Daddy Lipscomb, Mike Adams, obviously Troy Fautanu right now. I don't have another one. That's
wild to me that nobody wore it in 15, 16, or 17. That was on the 53-man roster. Because after Adams in 14, no one wore it again until Chooks, which is interesting.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Tough one.
Yeah, so
hey, Troy might have it for a decade, so he's not going to be adding to this list very much. Hopefully, anyway.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully things go well, and that's the case. But anyways, there's that. If you're listening somewhere else, leave us a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you podcast from. You can find us there. Just search through his Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok, and then you'll find me everywhere, Zachary Smith, PGH. For Alan Saunders and myself, thanks for jumping in, taking another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.